We are doing a quick self-assessment here. I'm going to have you score yourself in just a moment. How well do you feel that you're listening? We're going to do this using these 9 questions to help us out here. Angelina, if you're just jumping in as well. And so let me make sure that I know what you're seeing on my screen here. Yeah, all right. We're going to move this along. All right. Move this along to just have you assess yourself on your own listening skills on this one. So I'll go through the questions. You keep track. Every time that one of these matches, I want you to give yourself a full point. If you're like, I kind of do it, feel free to give yourself a half point. If you're like, definitely need to work on that one, 0 points. Okay. So our first one here is, do I usually look at the speaker while he or she is talking? It's going to be 1 point for you, half point, or no points. Do I wait patiently for the speaker to finish talking before I respond? Number 3, do I make understanding my goal? 4, am I usually sensitive to the speaker's immediate need? 5, do I make it a practice to check my emotions? 6, do I regularly suspend my judgment until I get the whole story? 7, am I in the practice of summing up what the speaker says at major intervals? 8, do I ask questions for clarity when needed? Number 9, does my body language show that listening is a priority? So we've got 9 questions there. Give yourself a score on how well you do. Again, 1 if you feel like you do really well, half if you do pretty good, 0 if you know that's one you absolutely need to work on. And then give yourself either a point if you're like, well, I got a 6. I think I'm actually a 7. Give yourself the 7. If not, stay at a 6. Or if you're like, ooh, that even might be a generous score, then go ahead and score yourself appropriately there to give it. Now, again, what we're looking at here is as a result of today's training, am I able to up that score? Is there something about the awareness that I'm able to get, the knowledge that I'm able to get, or something we practice today, because we will do a practice that helps you when you leave? And one of the questions I'm going to ask as we're jumping out in about 20 minutes, could go quick, is how many points do you feel like you could give yourself now in addition to where you started? So let's say that well, Kara, how did you score yourself there? Going out of 10, where do you feel like you're sitting?
For me, it depended on what role I'm currently in, like
Ooh.
versus mom versus um professional versus, just as a human. So I varied depending on what role I was taking at the time.
You know what? That is actually a really good point, and I'm glad you bring that up, Kara. I hadn't even thought to address that part. And so there may be roles that we play where we're like, I need to do a better job. My wife Hillary's on the call with us right now, and she could be a great witness to say, I think he listens better when he's working than when he's with the family often. So I could probably find myself distracted or disinterested sometimes more often than professionally when I'm trying to stay interested and engaged with other people. So, something good for me to learn from you on that one, Kara. Appreciate that. All right, let's jump out of this for just a moment. Well, actually, one more thing I want to invite while we've got this up here, and then I'm just going to switch screens for us to watch a little video and improve this. So, anytime that you and I are in a training, a great acronym for us to use is ACT. What can I apply, change, and teach to someone else? So I want to invite you to do at least one of those first two. Find something to apply or change today, and then take something that you can teach to someone else. We've got some fun stuff that you can take. Maybe it's even the quiz and doing the quiz with a spouse or a child or a colleague, maybe even your team. We will be using 3 different sources today as we do this. And so, just so that you know where you can find these things, and I'll be sending these to you as well as we go forward, is let me show these to you. We've got Becoming a Person of Influence by John Maxwell. That's where we've just pulled some of those questions from and some of the other things. We've got the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Stephen Covey. That's where we're going to talk about empathic listening. And then we've got the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team from Patrick Lencioni. He's going to give us an exercise that I'll demonstrate with you today and that you could try with your family, with your team, coworker, spouse, just something where you could practice listening is what that's going to do right there. And okay, let's take a moment to start to increase at least our knowledge base and awareness with listening by jumping into John Maxwell. Now, John Maxwell, he is going to give us 2 things at least to help us out here, a listening ladder. So 6 things that we can do to move up the listening ladder, like 6 rungs. I'll give those to you as well. So if you don't get them right now and you're just picking it up, don't worry, it's going to come in the email. And then secondly, he's going to give us 4 H's. And I want you to think about those 4 H's and how that can impact your ability to really listen well and be a leader of influence as we move forward. So let's do one more screen share here. We're going to jump into seeing John. Hey, Ammon. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you could jump in with us. And Anya, you were able to jump in too. So happy to have you.
Hi,
Hello, hello.
I'm hiding.
It's okay. I'm going to introduce all of you to my friend John here. This is John Maxwell. Now, this is one of the older videos. Sometimes that could turn us off. We're like, is that still relevant? The nice thing about truths is they stay relevant, timeless. That's why we could still read the Bible and it still works for us, even though it's thousands of years old. And so, although this has been dated, as you can tell from his clothing, it's something that we should still listen to. And so I want to invite you to use your listening skills on this one to look past, if you need to, like I do, look past the datedness and find the value in what he's teaching here. All right, and let's go that full screen there to get this going.
Set him all down and said, I'm so excited. He said, I've got a hearing aid. I've got a hearing aid for you. And you're going to be able to hear it because Thomas Edison just many times couldn't enter into conversation. And so many times while everybody else was conversing, he'd just leave them because everybody knew he's deaf, basically, and he'd go back over to his laboratory and work. And when Henry Ford got excited, got out these hearing aids, he said, here, these are yours. I want you to have them. Thomas Edison, when he understood what they were, he said, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. He said, I don't want those. Oh, he said, if I have those hearing aids, I'll have to listen to all these conversations. He said, it'll mess up my work. He said, right now, he says, being deaf, I can just leave and nobody cares. He said, I can go get my work done. I can get something accomplished. He said, if I get hearing aids, I'll have to listen to you. A long time ago, I developed this system of how to climb the ladder to better listening. I took the word ladder, and it really helps me. The letter L stands for look at the speaker, because meanings are not in words, they're in people. The letter A stands for ask questions, because the quickest way to become a listener is by asking questions. The letter D stands for don't interrupt. It's just as rude to step on people's ideas as it is to step on their toes. The second D, don't change the subject. Listening is wanting to hear. The letter E stands for check your emotions, because leaders must keep current of the undercurrents, and emotions create a storm that others will back away from. And the letter R stands for responsive listening. When people feel that their leader no longer listens or responds, they will go somewhere else. For so many years, this was a weakness in my life. This is an area I've really had to work on. I'm not naturally a good listener. I started this practice back in the 70s, so it's quite old now. I started this practice. It really helps me. When I have to sit down and I know that I'm going to have a listening role with someone, which is very often, I get out my legal pad, and as they start to talk, I put a big letter L up in the right-hand part of the page. I just put a big L. It stands for listen. And I just, as I listen to them every once in a while, when I get kind of prone to want to get into the conversation, talk direct, tell them what to do, get bossy, I just look back at the letter L and say, no, John, hold it. Just be quiet. Just listen. And I'm going to share with you the 4 H questions to become a better listener. I found this to be very helpful to me. Number 1, what is their heart? That'll basically tell you where a person is. Number 2, what is their hope? Obviously, This will tell you what they would like to be in their best minutes. Thirdly, what is their hurt? Let them tell you about their worst moments. And then number 4, how can I help? How can I help? Most of you are aware of Chili's restaurants. It's a restaurant chain across America. I was listening to their leaders one time talk about how they built that restaurant chain to be so successful. They said something very interesting to me. They said 80% of their menu in their restaurant is made up of suggestions of their customers, foods they liked. And I thought, what a great way to build a restaurant, to say, what do you like to eat? What's really good? And they just listened. And when I was, again, pastor at Skyline, when we brought in members, one of the most important questions on the membership interview to me, one of the most important questions was the question, if you could change anything you wanted to change about this church, what would you change? And these new members, they come in and they say, why do you do that? And I think, beats me. And all of a sudden I realized, fresh eyes. They just saw things as it was, not as we had been brought up or not as tradition had kind of allowed us to. And they just helped us to see ourselves with fresh eyes. And here's what I found. All great leaders became great leaders because they learned to be great listeners.
All right. Well, here behind me, this is something I'll make sure to send to you. We've got thank you, Tess. Maxwell gets a little applause there. We've got our ladder, our listening ladder to help us out with those acronyms there. Now, I changed one of those a little bit for empathic listening to go on that E, where he said, take that emotion out of it. We want to take our emotion out of it, but we want to be dialed into their emotions. So that goes with Brene Brown as well, right? When it comes to that empathic listening, not autobiographical listening. And that's where Stephen Covey helps us out with seeking first to understand and then to be understood. But seeking first to understand means we need to apply these 4 H's and be able to listen from that other person's perspective. So I've got those for you as well. That's going to come your way. Where is their heart? What is their hope? What is their hurt? And how can I help? And so as you and I get moving forward with this, a couple of things that I want to demonstrate here to help us just move into that mode of getting up the listening ladder and dialing into these. So Eddie, are you able to jump in on your mic for just a moment if I ask you a question? Yeah. Okay. As John was talking there about the influence that leaders are able to have as they become better listeners, I know you've had corporate experience and experience as a leader yourself, and now you lead yourself in your own company. What is it that you perceive is so important about being a great listener to becoming a great leader?
That's an interesting question. So if you're not listening, you don't. This actually gets to some of these 4 H's in my experience. If you're not listening, you don't understand. And this is going to be more like the corporate problem. If you don't listen, you don't understand the problem. And that's more of it's a very impersonal way to put it. If you don't listen, you don't know what you don't know who they are, you don't know what they need, you don't know what they want, you don't know where they're at. And if you're not listening, you're never going to ask yourself, okay, well, how does this involve me? How do I change this person's life, whether it's here on this one very narrow issue, or if somebody's coming to you and saying, hey, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know what to do with my career, I don't know what to do with where I'm going. And that's like, if you can't listen to break down the issues or the barriers in what this person is trying to accomplish, whether that's professionally or personally, you're not a great leader. Like, you have to listen to change lives, again, either professionally or personally.
Ooh,
that's a philosophy according to Hammond, though.
No, I'm going to say that's a great catchphrase from today. Like, that's a great one-liner from today. You have to listen to change lives, right? And to be able to help. And as a leader, that is what we are called to do. We are working with people's lives. And so we're going to change them one way or the other. So either for good or for bad, right? But we want to change lives for good. Then we got to be good listeners. So what I want to do here is I want to introduce a Chinese character. This is traditional Chinese, not simplified. And this Chinese character is the character for listen. And I want to introduce this character because the different aspects that are built into this character help us understand what we can do to improve our listening skills and change lives for the better, especially starting with the people that are closest to us that we love and cherish and value the most in our lives. And I'll tell you what, even as I've been preparing for this, one of the reasons I study this and love training on it, I'm constantly working on it. It is just like working out for me, training. I have to do it every day to stay strong. And this is something I have to practice every day to stay strong. So I want you to know, as I come to you with this today, I experience failures every day and I have to catch myself. So we're learning together. And here are some things that we can learn from this character that can help us get better every single day, focusing on even just one of these. Now, the first that I want to focus on right here is just this character, this part of the character that's in black right here. This is the character for ear or hear. Like if we were just talking about an ear, it's the pictograph of the side of someone's face. So the side of the face with the ear popping out right here, that's what it is. So if we're just talking about hearing and what's the difference between hearing and listening, at least in Chinese, it would be the difference between this one character and all these characters. Now that is a big difference right there. So there's obviously a lot more to listening than just hearing somebody. And that's what I find myself doing a lot of times is the bobblehead nod, and then you find yourself in trouble with what is the conversation really going on here. So the next part here that I'm going to share with you is this one right here. Now this can be the number 10 with this character right here, but it also represents you. You are in the middle of north, east, south, and west. And so along with being the number 10, it also represents you. And so it's your ear that we're talking about right here. So the ear that you've got to listen with. The next one, the green, is a pictograph of eyes. So this is your eyes right here. Are you really using your eyes to dial in and pay attention to what's going on as that person is listening? And I found myself for just a moment being distracted from Ammon as I needed to let someone in the waiting room. And as I looked away, I caught myself and I was like, right there. I should have just waited till Ammon was done, let somebody in. This next one is the number one, but it also means undivided or unified. So, as in, we are going to unify or bring together our eyes and our ears on this one, but not just those. This red character at the bottom is a pictograph of what we typically draw like this, the heart, but it is also the same pictograph that you would use for the mind. So in Chinese, there's not this distinction between the heart and the mind. They're the same. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter, right? And so we say that a lot of different ways in English. And in this situation, what we're looking at without this character right here is if you're really listening, it's you listening not just with your ears, but with your eyes combined with your heart and your mind together. And then this is a really cool character right here. This is the character for the king or the emperor. So if you are listening to someone, it's actually what gives it the tone. Ting, that's how you say it, uptone ting, and that tells you how to say it, but it's the character for the king. The king would bring heaven to earth. That's why you draw it that way. It's the number three with a line through it. And then that's what the emperor did. He brought heaven to earth. So when you listen to someone, how do you listen to them? As if you were listening to the king. How important is it to listen to the king? Your life could depend on it, right? And so when we think about just how that little Chinese character breaks up, it can make a significant difference for helping us find something that we can do better. Do I need to engage just the hearing part better? Do I need to engage my eyes better? Do I need to bring my heart, my mind into it so I'm not distracted or uninterested, disinterested in that one? And how do I really bring that together to make it a great experience? So before I move on with a little practice exercise for us to do on this one, I'd love to hear just any thoughts, whether it's observations from this or anything else that we've looked at, or any thoughts that are just kind of percolating for you about listening, the importance of listening, how to listen, or maybe a cool thing you know about teaching listening. All right, no problem if we do not have that because we're gonna move. Oh, Ammon, you got one?
I- So your green pictograph device. This is so my wife actually teaches children and parents of children who have hearing loss. She teaches them how to speak and how to listen and how parents can help their children develop listening skills. That's her whole profession, and one of the it's interesting to me to hear her talk sometimes on Zoom calls similar to this with families of how she's teaching, and it is very she mentions the eyes a lot. It's always like if you it's fascinating to hear her say if you can hold your child's attention where they are watching your mouth, they're watching your face, they're watching your expressions, they will learn how to listen. And that's so as I was watching you break down this pictograph and this character is like, yep, that's turns out that works. Like I've heard this from somebody who like this is my wife's job. She teaches people how to learn how to listen professionally, and the eyes part really spoke to me on that one. So it's just that's what I just took away from that right there. It's like, oh, that's right. Like, I've heard this said before, and it helps me personally as well when I'm meeting somebody, especially of if I can just tune everything out visually and focus on them, then it usually goes better for me. And sorry, like I'm looking up over here because that's where you are, Russ. So I
Yeah,
swear I'm
I
looking at you. I
figured that.
promise.
I know. I've got the multi-screens going on here too. Thank you. Aaron, how about you? You don't need to chime in. Just if there were any thoughts, I wanted to make sure to not exclude you.
I guess I was always told that I was a good listener growing up, like as a teenager. And since it was just a habit that I had, I was like, listening's not a skill. Like, what do you mean? You just shut up and you listen. But it wasn't until I was older that I realized, like, oh, wow, people do suck at listening and it is something you have to practice.
Okay, yes, it is. So we can practice, and I'm so glad you got a kiddo there joining you. So fun. We'll just wait back there for a moment. Okay, well, here is a little practice exercise along with a great reminder. I've seen this attributed to some philosophers of the past. I don't know if that's true, but it's true. Mother Nature is telling us something. We got two ears and one mouth, so it's a good ratio to remember as we move forward. And here is an activity from Patrick Lencioni. Now, he uses this in the five dysfunctions of a team to help with building trust vulnerability. And along with that, it's just a great opportunity to practice listening to other individuals. And so, what I want to do is, I want to demonstrate this one for you, just model it of how it happens, and then invite you to use this. I'll be sending this out in our email resources as well as something that you can try with either a colleague that you work with, maybe a team that you're leading, or just somebody, I don't know, in your own home. You could change these up a bit. There will be some instructions in the PDF that I send you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this information of me in a minute. It's six short questions that I'll answer right here. And in that me in a minute, what I want to invite you to do is listen again empathically and not autobiographically. So often when we're hearing somebody's experience or story, we start to overlay our own experience or story with that. So this person has that many siblings. I'm thinking about my siblings' birth town. I'm thinking about my birth town, rather than thinking about that person in that order of siblings or that person growing up, being born in that town. So I want to invite you to try that empathic listening, and even just detect within yourself if you slide really quickly into the autobiographical listening on this one. I know that's really easy for me. So my name is Russ Simon, for those who don't know me, but I think well, almost everybody here does. I am the oldest of six children, and I was born in Missoula, Montana. A unique childhood challenge that I had was my dad was in the military, so we moved around quite a bit. And as we moved around a lot, then it, it was just one of those things where I had a hard time reading anyway, and so I'd move from school to school, and nobody really owned that reading, and I hadn't figured it out, and my parents were taking care of this growing family, and so I was just kind of uh, I don't know, left left on my own to figure it out. And by second grade, I still wasn't reading well. And yeah, by the time second grade hit, I was essentially bribing kids to do my homework, and that's when I got caught. Los Angeles School District was where I landed in second grade. Bribing kids, they said, this kid's got to learn how to read. And so I started reading, but I had to read just to learn. And so reading never really became a joy for me. I'm glad my kids do that now. And so now I really do just read to learn, which I do love doing that, but I haven't learned to read for pleasure, which is really tough. So that was a challenge for me. A favorite hobby, I love to train and exercise. I just love sweating and working hard. My first job was in Los Angeles as a little BMX biker newspaper boy. So I was that kid with the bike, full of the newspapers. I'm riding by and I'm throwing it. That little Nintendo game, that was me in real life. And it was also the worst job because I don't know if you can picture that riding around Los Angeles. It wasn't the city, but it was Wilmington, near Long Beach. So if you know that Long Beach area, riding up and down those streets, and just not a great job. So that was the worst job. First job, worst job, and helped me continue to move on to better jobs. So this, that, and scene. Ta-da. So I want you to just evaluate yourself there. How well did you do with empathic listening? Were you able to stay dialed in and rather than overlay your own story and think about yourself, really try to dial in and think, oh, this is Russ and his story, and what do I learn about Russ as I go through that? So this will be an activity, a PDF that I give to you so that you can take with your team to be able to practice that with them. And I want you to try it with somebody else. Now, I know QR codes, it's the frustration if you're on a phone. My apologies. So what I will do is make sure, in fact, I'll see if I can grab it right now. Doesn't look like it's gonna let me do it, but I will pop that in the chat for us. Those that got it on another screen, you can get it. I don't want you to have to wait. Let me just get out of our share screen right here, and I'll get that to you. All right. Well, I thought I was going to exit full screen. Okay, here we go, my friends. That's coming in the chat for you right here. So remember, even if you can't come next week, when we continue with leading through enlarging, how do we help enlarge other people, help them be bigger and better than they already are? You will get the replay and the resources to be able to go back and get that. Of course, love to have you live to be able to do it. And then there is one more thing that I want to ask you to do is whatever score you felt like you had out of 10 for listening when we started today, how many points extra would you give yourself on taking what you now know or have awareness of when it comes to listening? So pivot this back over here for just a moment. If you were to act, remember, apply, change, and teach something from today that you learned, how many points would you improve? Pop it in the chat. I want to see what kind of improvement did we get here. Or feel free to mic up, those that can mic up. But this is a good self-assessment for each of us to say, oh, and I'm still sharing that. Okay, now we're back to this. This is a good self-assessment. Anyway, all right. So Tess is saying, all right, about a 1 to a 1.5. Good job. Brandy's improving by 2. More interested in my kids rambling. All right, that's good. I like it. Let's see. Any other scores coming in there that I'm missing?
The question that I had, Russ, is will you be able to send out that assessment with the post meeting notes?
Yes.
I missed your assessment at the beginning.
Yep. It's going to come. So you'll get the questions. So it's 9 questions. And then at the end, so you give yourself a 1 for each one you feel like you do really well, a half if you're like, I'm decent, and a 0 if you're like, I could work on that one. And then number 10 is when you look at your final score, is that really the right score? Should you add 1, keep it right there, or subtract 1? And that'll be the final. But yeah, the whole reason for the pre-assessment initially is to see, do we get growth during this training? Was it worth my time? Was it worth the 30 minutes that I invested today? That's what we really want. Is a 1 score improvement going to make a difference for Tess? Absolutely, because that just increased her influence with everyone that she comes in contact with. And then the secondary is, okay, what are some of those questions I may not have thought about that can increase where I can make the improvements? So that'll help us find some ways to do it. Well, my friends, I want to thank you and invite you again. Think about this as you sign off today. What was the most valuable thing for you today so you actually know what to take action on? If you've come, you've already made an investment in yourself. Don't leave it here. Let's bring it off the screen into life, into our leadership, make a difference, become leaders of influence, and help other people become leaders of influence as well. Okay, my friends, we are out for today. I'll catch you next week. Same day, Thursday, same time, 4 o'clock. And hopefully you can bring a friend with you. I'll get that replay and resources out to you ASAP. Catch you later, my friends. Oh, Ammon, thanks. You got in there. Most valuable for you was autobiographical listening versus empathic listening. I love it. Thank you so much for getting that in there. Appreciate that. Okay. See you, my friends.